Hi, today we're going to learn about independent samples t-test, also called as a two-sample t-test. This is used when we want to compare the means of two unrelated groups. So say for example, in this situation, I have two groups of people here. 15 people do not take coffee, and then the other group takes coffee. So what we're going to do here is we're going to compare the means of the two groups and then try to see if caffeine has an effect on the scores of these people. So we have some assumptions that we must take into account when doing this test. One of the assumptions is that there should be a grouping variable, wherein in this situation we have a group that takes coffee and then the other group does not take coffee, and it should be independent from each other. So this score should be continuous, and then we also have a grouping variable. So what we're going to do now here is first we are going to have a normality test. So the first thing that we must do is check if the continuous variable that we have is normally distributed. Normally we test the residuals. So what we're going to do now is we go to analyze, and then we're going to do descriptives. We're going to explore. So what we're going to explore here are the scores that we have, and then the plots that we must have should be the normality plots with test. So this is usually being shown by a Kolmogorov-Smirnov test or Shapiro-Wilk test. We click on continue and then OK. So as we can see here in the test of normality, it says here that there is a 0.2 p-value and 0.5 p-value, which means that our data is not significantly different from a normal distribution. Therefore, our data is normally distributed. So we can proceed with our independent samples t-test. Later on, one of the assumptions, which is the homogeneity of variances, or it should mean that the variances of our scores are almost approximately not different from each other, using Levin's test. So to proceed with the t-test for independent samples, what we're going to do is we click on analyze, and then we compare the means. Compare the means using independent samples t-test. So as you can see here, this window shows up which one of these are we going to test. So we're going to test the scores, and then we're going to place the group in the grouping variable. However, we must define them first. So we can define them group 1 as those who take caffeine, and group 2 for those who do not take coffee. And then all we have to do now is click on OK. So as you can see here, this table for group statistics is showing that for group 1, those people who take coffee has a mean of 99, which is higher than this one. But in this one will not give us a decision if there is significant difference between the two groups or the two scores. So what we need is an independent samples t-test. So as we can see here, there's a Levin's test for equality of variances. This is one of the assumptions. And it says here that it's 0.581, which means that the variances of group A and B is not significantly different from each other, which means we are going to interpret this one, 0.00, which means that there is a significant difference between the scores of those who take coffee and those who do not take coffee. Now, if this one were to become significant, then we are going to interpret this one. But in this case, we are using this one. So this means that coffee has an effect on the scores of our respondents. So we can also see here the confidence interval, which means that the lowest difference that it can have is 4, and then the highest is 10. And then we have a mean difference of 7.2. So this is it for the independent samples t-test, and I hope you learned something. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you have learned something. Thank you, and ace it.